Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Me, Ziad Ajrushi, and my beloved wife, Fatma Al-Houni, on behalf of Liverpool Ramadan program, we welcome you, and it is an honor to host special guest, Dr. Omar Hamdoun, and his wife, Ustada Lana As-Sumaydai. Dr. Omar Hamdoun, Imam and member of European Assembly of Imams and Bridge Board of Scholars and Imams. Previously, he was director of Muslim Association of Britain. And Dr. Omar Hamdoun, he has two master degrees, one in dentist and the second one in Islamic study. He was educator and writer on Islam, and as well as being an international speaker. Ustada Lana Sumaydai has a bachelor degree in Usul ad-Deen wal Aqidah, master in modern Islamic methodology, Fiqh al-Islam al-Mu'asir, and she had an ijaza in Hifz al-Quran al-Kareem, and she is an active member in Muslim Association of Britain. During this blessed month of Ramadan, we are happy to present the first episode of Sunday series, which we intended to highlight how to build Muslim family full of love and happiness, inshallah.
Inshallah. Firstly, I would like to welcome our guest, Dr. Omar and Ustada Lana. And to begin with, we would like to know what's the definition of marriage in Islam and what is the lesson that we should learn behind marriage in Islam for us as individual and for our community.
Lana, do you want to answer that?
Yeah.
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa min walah. First of all, I would like to thank you for this great idea and program. And we hope Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept it from us and hope that we will give the hope as well. And some maybe ideas and highlighting to our community, our youth, our ladies and girls, which they are inshallah trying to build a good families and good community. And going back to this question, what is behind the idea of the marriage? When we think, first of all, how we can continue our life and what is the aim that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create us for, we have to think that we're going to finish our life with somebody. This is the main issue. And we have to choose who is this person which we're gonna, inshallah, finish our life or continue our life with. It's not something that I have to find exactly the same person, because we have to highlight here that there is no anybody in this world like you. You are who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create you. So you're gonna add somebody else to your life. This is the main issue and the main problem as well, that how does the things started that the lady or the girl or the man, they want the same, they want to have the same character, the same person. Sometimes they would like to change everything, which really is not right. We have to think that there is something half of the way. So I have something, he have something, and we have to continue and build this, which we can say association or mu'assasa al-zawaj, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give it to us in a halal way. So we can give our love, we can do our hopes, we can, inshallah, if Allah will, we can may extend it by having children and so on. So if we think from this side, which is positive side, that is not, we have to be scary about it. We have to be nervous, or we have to have a same copy of ourselves. I think, inshallah, we will have a successful partner, or like we can say couple, and we will have the aim which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted from us, وهي إعمار الأرض. We're having a big issue. It's not like only, like some people, they think about marriage. I think the story or the whole idea is bigger than that. And maybe Umar can, bless him, add for this as well.
Jazakallah khair, Lana, for your words. I also would like to reiterate my gratitude for our brothers and Ustad Suhaib and all the other brothers who are part of this program for such a great idea. Obviously, that is something that we do definitely need in our society, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make this program a blessed one and useful one for all those who are participating in it, inshallah. As for the definition of marriage, I mean, marriage in Islam is a union. It's a union between a man and a woman, and that's quite clear from our Islamic texts. It is a union which has been established based on the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah has allowed us, as Nana mentioned, it's one of the things that Allah has given us. He recognized that a man needs a woman and a woman needs a man, and so He allowed us to do something in a way which He has blessed, in a halal way. So He's allowed for us to come together in this union where each one recognizes their rights, their responsibilities, their duties, and by doing this, they are there to do a very important task. In fact, one of the most important tasks of humanity, which is to build an important foundation, building block for society. So marriage is that union. Yes, we can define marriage as a contract. We can define marriage as Allah mentions it, mithaqan ghalidha. It's a very harsh and strict association. We can define it in this, but I think it's very important to understand that it's a union which is based on the rahmah of Allah. It's based on the signs of Allah as a sign for us to ponder and to reflect and to learn from and to build on, inshallah.
Jazakumullah khair. Dr. Umar and Ustad Lana, as a husband and a wife, what do you think is the most important and crucial thing that the couples need to focus on and consider in their marriage?
Umar, would you like to have an answer, and then I'm after you?
Okay, so no doubt marriage is about the coming together of two people, and as Lana mentioned, these two people are different in many ways. They have probably different attitudes, different outlooks perhaps. They are definitely going to be different in how they appear, how they present themselves, lots of things. And I think one of the most important things about marriage is to understand, first of all, that this is such a great union and relationship that a person is doing not only fulfilling their needs and their desires, but they're doing something which is, if done properly, if done well, is a fundamental founding building block for society. So I think it's important to understand very importantly what they're getting into, and secondly, to understand that this union is a blessing. It's about trying to achieve the best out of this relationship, and importantly is that how do we understand each other, and by understanding each other we can avoid all the pitfalls that might come by not communicating appropriately.
And I think, adding to what you said, Umar, that I think maybe little bit being honest, and we have to understand ourselves before we would like to have our couple or the second half, that what do I need in my life? What is my plan? What is my hope? To be honest, if you put this from the beginning, very clear to your partner or to yourself before your partner, how am I gonna finish my life? How do I want to treat and look after my children? What is my priority in life? I think this one will make much things easy, because one of the things which I always approach in my counseling session, that they don't know what they are about. Since like we say, the khutbah and the aqd, there were nothing, they didn't even talk about the future, they didn't talk about their hope, their thinking, what did I think about even some things in life, in Sharia. The most important thing that they are concentrating for, that, the house, are we gonna have car or no, our jobs, maybe which area we're gonna live with, something very, very material. And they forget their self or their hopes And when after the marriage, this is a problem when they started, that she have things in her mind, maybe some expectation, and he have as well. They didn't talk about it, they didn't clarify it from the beginning. And he find that I'm afraid he didn't find the right person maybe. And this one's really upsetting that after the marriage happened, they say, okay, we didn't talk about this. She didn't say that. And she say as well, she blame him that why he didn't say that, like, he don't want me to be like active in the community. He don't want me to like join like Quran lessons or whatever, because the expectation or the things is different. Some of men or males, they would like only housewife, only look after your children, like look after your house, and that's it. I don't allow more, like for example. And some men, the opposite way, they want her to be a creator, and you want her to be a famous and talkative, and and she don't have that, and she don't have even the ability. So when we understand, first of all, ourselves and what is our hope and what's our plan in life, so we can choose the right person to finish and continue our life with. And always I say to my students and followers when they ask me, I told them, first of all, when I met Umar, we didn't talk about these material things in life. We talk exactly what we want from each other. And he was very clear with me. And even our khutbah and aqd didn't take more than even 5 days. You remember that maybe, Umar, or 4 days. And we highlighted exactly what we want from each other. In deen, in sharia, in our house, and even in kids, and even how do we live with our family and whatever. So this one really makes things easy. And there is sidq here, that I show exactly what I want and he show exactly what he want. I think this one will let us avoid loads of problems and clashes in the future, inshallah. And then, of course, when the love comes and when the rahmah and the mawaddah comes after the aqd and the zawaj, inshallah, everything will be exactly as Allah will. It doesn't mean at all there is no problems, there is no bumps in the marriage way. This one even happens in Bayt al-Nubuwah, in the life of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and he was the best man ever in this life. There were problems, there were some clashes, there were like some jealousy in sometimes, but we are talking about the majority today. We are talking about in general, how the daily life, how our thinking, the things which we go together with and we agree with, it should be at least 70 to 80% agreed with before getting engaged and before getting married. So inshallah, we have the successful life together.
Jazakallah khair, Ustadha Lana, barakallah feek, Dr. Omar. So back to the first step, when the youth want to start establish a family, they starting with choosing a partner. And the biggest challenge that youth usually face, a lot of advice, a lot of recommendation from different people around them. And they, for example, his friend will say to him, take one from famous family or one from your city or same culture or same thoughts. If he go to his parents, they will advise him to his cousin or her friends, daughters or sons. If he went to the sheikh, he will give him the famous hadith about choosing your wife on 4 criteria: her wealth, her family, her beauty, her deen. At the end, they will only make them confused. And my question is, for first step to establish a Muslim family, which criteria you advise the Muslim youth, he or she, to look for, and according to which methodology, especially here in UK, because I know the biggest 4 things is wealth, family, beauty, and deen. But sometimes we have some complicated details we need to focus about before we choosing a right partner. Inshallah, to you, Dr. Omar.
Jazakallah khair. I mean, first of all, as you mentioned, without doubt, we cannot, stray away far from the hadith and the recommendation of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in what you mentioned, that the woman is married for four reasons. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was advising to marry a woman who has deen. And I think here it's very important to understand that deen is not just about, how much a person prays or if they fast, but deen is here is how a person is conscious, aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that's what's important. Why is the Prophet ﷺ advising us to find somebody who has a deen? And it's not just for the man looking for a woman, it's both ways, as I think Lana will mention from the woman's side. But from the man's side, when he's looking for someone, he's looking for a person of deen, because that consciousness, that taqwa, that awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be a guiding factor in how that person behaves. That's what we believe. The more iman that you have, the more taqwa, the more you remember Allah, doing dhikr, your salah, all these things pour into one essential point, which is that you are aware of Allah, and so therefore you're going to behave well. You're going to behave well to your wife. You're going to behave well to your children. You're going to behave well to your in-laws. You're not going to be a person who has deen is not going to be somebody who's going to be abusive. Someone who's going to have deen is not going to be somebody who's going to wrong each other. Islam teaches us at a very basic level that even when you put on your sandals, the Prophet ﷺ said, if one of you is going to put on sandals and you happen only just to have one sandal, I know it might seem strange nowadays, but in the past this was a reality. So he said, if one of you was putting on sandals and he only has one, then he either needs to put sandals or shoes on both feet, or he shouldn't be wearing shoes on either feet. So neither on one foot, don't just walk in one slipper, one foot. And the lesson that the ulama said here, said this, even at a very basic level, is teaching a Muslim that he has to be fair and just, even with his feet. He can't give one foot advantage over the other foot. So if a Muslim is aware of Allah, has that deen, then he's going to treat his wife well, he's going to treat his family well, his in-laws, if there's any arguments, because that is the opposite way. One of the ayat of the munafiq, the signs of a munafiq, إِذَا خَاصَمَ فَجَرْ. When he goes into argument, he goes to extremes. He becomes abusive. He breaks all his agreements. He doesn't respect anyone. So I think that's the whole issue of the deen. But just to fine-tune your question a little bit more, deen is important and should always be the first criteria. I don't think anybody should accept to remove that. However, it's very important that when you're looking for your future spouse, is to look at as much similarities that will allow you to continue your life. And by similarities, what we mean here means that you are looking for somebody who shares your perspective on life. So even when it comes to deen, and when we're talking about, if you are somebody, and I see this a lot and I hear it a lot, you'll find sometimes a woman who will say, I want a brother who prays and does this, and he's fasting and he feels, but she's not wearing hijab, for example. Or the other way around, a mother sometimes looks, I want somebody for my son, I want a woman who is a good woman, she's going to bring my son, she's going to look after him, she's going to wake him up for salah, so your son doesn't wake up for salah, you want to bring a wife who is going to be much more practicing than him, and you want her to now change him into this kind of differences, disparity is going to cause issues, no doubt. So even at the level of the deen, we're looking at somebody who is close to you in terms of your practicing level. Don't marry if you're not very practicing and you get somebody who is practicing, there's going to be conflict, or the other way around. And similarly, other issues. That's why, our parents, why do they recommend for us to marry someone from our own ethnicity? Usually, they say marry, Yemeni, marry Yemen. If you are Iraqi, marry from Iraq. The reason for this, I know sometimes it might sound racial or racist or nationalistic, but really it's more about the similarities. At least the traditions are same. Even at a very amusing level, the food is going to be the same. You're not going to have this culture shock. So that is really, but obviously when you're living in Britain, if you've lived all your life in Britain, for example, and you've got used to a certain way of talking, a certain way of life, your children or yourself, you might not speak the language that your parents aspire you to marry from. For example, your English is your better language. So, or your attitude in terms of your life, your outlook, how you deal with things is different. So that's why it's important to look for the most common factor, the common denominator, to allow the marriage to be built. We're not talking about getting a replica of yourself, because opposites attract, as they say, but we're trying to look for someone who shares basic realities together within the whole scope of knowing and being aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
And from that, Umar, that's why I advise when, as I work with the community, many males or females, they come to me and they ask, please, if you can find somebody to us. And I highly recommend to find a person from the same country. And as you mentioned, the same culture, really, it makes things more easy than, you need to understand from the beginning, how the other family or the other culture works. That's why if we go for the some studies, which really I rely on it in my book, which I created, which I call it the challenges which faces the Arabic and Islamic families in the Western, and I take Britain or UK as an example. The most divorce happens with the different backgrounds. Why? Because her expectation or understanding for marriage or for the family life is different than what he expects. And then the clashes started from there. And plus, as we are living in the Western lifestyle, we are aware about the challenges and the things and even the jokes and even the understanding the law and everything, which really make the quality of our life is high and well understood. Either when we when he bring his wife from other country, or she don't know at all what's happening, let's say in Canada or in America or in in Sweden or any other country. Really, it will make the things more difficult and a little bit slowly to understand. And especially if they have immediately a baby and she need to deal with the GP and with the hospitals and with things, and she feels alone. And from that, the problem started because she don't know anything, and you don't support me, and and he's busy and things like that. So there is loads of criteria which we should highlight it. And as I said in the beginning, when you understand yourself well, you can show your partner what do you want, what do you expect, how do you think that your life should be. And after that, the things will be easy. Plus, Umar spoken about the deen, so I don't have to go back to this. But just we need to know that the deen and being religious is at different levels. So try to be honest with yourself when you want to have a life with somebody else. Try to take it, as we say, at-takafu with everything, being the similarity which Umar has spoken about. This one definitely, the similarity not only with deen, the similarity with the money, with the wealth, with the knowledge, with even the age, different ages. When we take like more than 10 years between the husband and the wife, this one will be a big gap for understanding. Of course, there is a successful examples, and they did very, very well, but we are talking in general. Yeah, and the same as well with the deen, the same as well with knowledge. I can't take a master degree and then I will take like non-educated, or like he only finishes like the primary school or something like that. I don't want anybody to understand that I'm making these people less. No, but being equal will make things much easier and happy for both couples.
And can I also just add to clarify so that people don't misunderstand?
Yeah.
I'm not against, or I don't say that, if somebody from different cultures don't marry from different cultures. This is not what I'm saying. But sometimes it's about sharing that culture. So exactly. you might be an Egyptian living in Britain, and you marry someone who is South African living in Britain, you might share the same British culture.
Culture,
so therefore, that means you understand. Even we say Britain, they have the sense of humor, the British sense of humor, for example. So if you understand that humor, you know that that culture is fine. So it's not about race. It's not you must marry somebody living in Iraq. A British Iraqi living all his life in Britain, and then he brings somebody from Iraq, even though they are from the ethnicity the same. In reality, they have different cultures, because she's used to a certain mindset, he's used to. So just to clarify that, so don't people go and say, oh, Umar Hamdoun said cultures shouldn't mix each other, and this goes against Islam.
Yeah, no, and even my daughter, she asked me that day, Mama, do you mind if I marry somebody which was Iraqi? I say that's fine if the mindset, as Umar said, if he's still in UK, he understands you share both. Ahlan wa sahlan, why not? If there is the deen, if there is the akhlaq, if there is equal with everything, I don't mind.
And for your information, my daughter is married to a Sudanese. So, so it's not, and that's because my daughter studied in Sudan. She lived in Sudan for about 7 years. So she got used to the culture there. So Allah, alhamdulillah, she married someone from Sudan. And alhamdulillah, they are happy. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue their happiness. So I'm not against intercultural marriage.
Ustadha Lana, coming back to the same point, but mainly focusing on the young Muslim women.
Yeah.
So when they face a lot of challenges when they choose their partners, and these challenges can be the lack of knowledge, experience, or even the influence of their family and friends. So in your opinion, what do you think are the main points for the young Muslim women should focus on when they choose their future husband?
Okay, I don't know, everybody's different, and it's a big and huge subject to talk about. I believe, first of all, because you are talking about the young, so we have to give respect for mom and dads. To be honest, we give them all our trust that when they say no to that person, or they have like some points, they know what they are about. From here, I advise, because I have many followers, which they are youth, and I think they are with us now, and they are expecting what I'm going to say in this point. And I say, trust your mom and dad, and try to listen to them and give them some space in your life. It's not about because, I know him better, and and we study together, and you don't know, and you are from different generation and whatever. I think they have enough experience to know, even from the first look, sometimes, is this person is going to suit you or no? Why? Because they are the people, I'm talking again in general. Some, of course, families, they are like, a single mom or single dad, but we are talking in general that you grow between these mom and dad, and they know exactly what you are about, and they know how do you think, how do you feel, what do you expect, even the food which you like, even the tiny things in your life. So this one, first of all, I think it will be very helpful if we take their opinion and their side somehow. And then again, going back to our hopes, our hobbies, our thinking, and what do we want from the other side. I believe we are 50%, and the other side, which either male or female, will inshallah complete or continue the other 50%. So there is things I have to look and share from the beginning. We have to be honest and sit down, and instead of talking about the wedding and this rubbish stuff and the house and the job and the finance and whatever, we have to talk between each other. What do I want from you, and what do you want from me? What do you like? What do you dislike or you hate, let's say, and how we can be one union, and how we can give a successful for the community, and to continue, inshallah, in the best way. There is different criteria for every family and every person, and even our kids sometimes. What we say that this is a priority for them is not a priority. So again, from the other side, mom and dad, they have to let's say, to respect the thoughts and the thinking for the youth and how do they grow up. And definitely there is things different from, like when I marry Umar or we marry each other, it was completely different than now. But again, there is a general things we have to go through them, and we have to find how we can continue our life, inshallah, in the best way.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khair, Ustadha Lana. Going further to after marriage, and according to what you said and Dr. Umar Hamdoun said, what is the best, if we can say, recipe or tips that couples indeed will need it to start healthy relationship?
Umar?
Okay, I mean, obviously there will be many tips to share, but I think I will share one which is the most important. And actually there's a nice story about this, although time does not allow us to talk about the story. But the main thing, I think the best recipe for a good healthy relationship is to know, as Lana mentioned, she mentioned that, before marriage, you get to know more about what your outlook on life is, what your plans are, what do you want, etc. So even when the marriage starts, there has to be a very important, we say, heart-to-heart talk and discussion, frank, honest, about what each person likes, what do they dislike, how do they see the marriage, what their expectations of each other. And if we do that, a husband asks his wife, what is it that you don't like, what is it that you're happy to experience, that is the basic, it's all about understanding. End of the day, most of the marriage issues, if not all of them, are related to expectations, not meeting the expectations. There's misconceptions.
Yeah.
I didn't expect him to be like this. I didn't think my wife would turn out like this. I wanted children. She didn't want children. I wanted this. But if you, from the beginning, obviously there are issues which need to be discussed before the marriage, if there are life issues, like for example, if a woman, and I know this might sound strange, but there will be some women who will say, I don't want children. And similarly, there might be a man who doesn't want children. So if that's something you're said, irrelevant whether it's halal or haram, I'm not talking about the halal or haram aspect of that, because that's a whole fiqh issue. But if you are not planning to have children, you can't spring this in on your husband after the marriage. This is something that needs to be said before. Or if you want to, further your education and your career, or if you want to do these kind of things, there are things that have to be said before. But things which are after the marriage, it's more about attitudes. I don't like you, I don't like this name, or I don't like you calling me this, or I don't like you taking me here, or I don't, those kind of issues. Inshallah, if it's more honest and clear, then it allows for a person to start the marriage knowing that this is on the right foot. Obviously, saying that, we're not saying that marriage is a set of rules. Don't know. They say, what do you like? And then the woman brings out this scroll of paper. Okay, where do I start? And then there's got this 100 things that you, or the other way around. But it's more about, the basics, that what really, there are things that will really anger me, if you did this, or there are things that will really make me happy. So having that kind of understanding, I think, is an important recipe for a happy relationship.
And I can continue the second recipe, which I always advise in my classes, in my lectures, al-qabul, accept. Just try to accept your partner. Don't try to change him upside down as you want. He's a human being. He should have his space, his friends, his life, his hobby, not because he enter what they call it, the golden gate, which I don't like this name, but al-qafas al-dhahabiyya. It's qafas. Even the name is la hawla wa la quwwa illa billah. So even sometimes the culture, the bad culture, is feeding our minds with some poems or some amthal or hikam, which is really I don't know, it doesn't work. So accept him as he is. You have to respect that he been like for 20 or 30 or 40 years with his life, with his family, with his own strategy and things. You don't have to change him in one night or in 1 month because he is my husband now, or the opposite way, because she is my wife now. Even yesterday, one of my followers on Facebook, she wrote me a letter that somebody came and he's trying to do khutbah for her. And from the beginning, he tried to change her way of hijab. She is doing her, mashallah, yani completely hijab, like what like whatever Salafi or Ikhwani or I don't know, Taharruri, or there is different ways in Islam. And I say, look, it's not issue that because you want to change you for like khimar or jilbab or abaya or whatever. The issue, this one gives you something behind that there is things in his mind set, and he might maybe ask for a big changes later. So are you ready for that? This is the only question. Are you ready for that? If you are ready and you kind of like, there is loads of, alhamdulillah, like flexibility ladies, which she accept, and she is willing to change, and she don't mind, unless the things is negative. We are talking about the positive changing. So I think al-qabul, changing, accepting your partner and saying, okay, look, I have to respect that he have his life, he have his things, and yeah, of course, there is things he have to respect me and maybe change it a little bit, maybe like his hair color or maybe his style in wearing clothes or maybe things. And even me and Umar, we had this sometimes even arguments. But end of the day, we are mutasalihin, I accept what he wants and kind of my love to him, showing the love because we like this topic, the love. That I accept because I love him. So I have to give him a space, and I have to let him to practice what he wants. And at the same time, because he loves me and he wants, to continue with me and to have a successful life as well, he have to give me some of things which I want. So al-qabul, I think one of the very important things which make things easy, and both couple is calm and they can accept even how the life will change. I take him wealthy and in good condition. What about like many of our husbands or youth or males, they lose their job. There is no money. He can't pay, he can't afford it. So life is changed. It's not the same ruler which I take Umar in the same day. And now, alhamdulillah, we've been like nearly, we are going through our 18th anniversary. And there is things change in Umar. And there is things change in Lana. التغيير من سمة الخلق. It's not, nobody can stay like a statue the same. So there is things change in like ظروف, some things in our life, in our family, in our even health, in our mentality. We change. Yes. But the most important thing is how to accept him and he will accept me. I think this one will let us to carry on in this path in a happy and in a safe way, inshallah.
Jazakumullah khair. Ustadha Lana, touching on the same topic. So after the marriage, some couples might start to notice the unexpected manners and behaviors they're not used to, and they doesn't match with them. What's the best plan that he or she could act on so they try to tackle these mismatches, and to what extent they should tolerate these mistakes and why? Thank you.
When I married Umar, one of the things which really was helpful to me and to him as well, I think you remember that, Umar, that we listened, both of us, to Jasim al-Mutawwa, and he is one of the big blogger in the al-ilaqat al-zawjiyya, the marriage relationship. We were in a time of the cassette, not CDs. So there were an album from 2 cassettes, in our micro car, the little one. And we heard about الصراحة في الحياة الزوجية. And really, this one was helpful. And I was having from time to time sessions with Umar. We sit together in a good time on the sofa and we clarify. And we say, what did I like from you? What did you dislike from me? How we can get rid of it. So most of the important things, and which avoid us from divorce, some problems, from, explode in one moment, that from time to time, we be honest, we have this صراحة between each other. We are not malaika, we are not angels. We will have mistakes, we will have problems, we will have changes, yeah? We have to agree, all of us, in this occasion or in this talk about it. So whenever I, as a human being, yeah, again, we are not malaika, we are not rasul and anbiya. When I do this mistake, tell me about it. Don't keep it inside you. And when you tell me, of course, I will try to resolve it. I will try to say sorry. I will apologize for it, and I will try to correct it. This is of course, we are talking about the right way. But being stubborn and being, not caring about your love or your partner, of course, this one, another problem. We are not going to talk about it now. We are talking about what we should be, how Bayt al-Nubuwah, how as-Salihin, how the successful houses they are built on. So when we have this saraha, of course, we will get rid of the, the things which we didn't expect, or the changes, or the mistake as a human being, again, which we gonna do or gonna happen, and we will clarify it one by one. We will not let it to be built on each other, and then it will be like a mountain, and it will be very difficult to, to get rid of it. So from time to time, even sometimes by messages. When I married Umar, there wasn't WhatsApp and things. We were a little bit behind. There maybe even mobile. I didn't have mobile, and I don't care about it, because end of the day, there is lots of communication which you can do with your husband by letters, by cards, by some gifts, and you put your message in, you sit down with while doing some barbecue and talk. So this one always, even what matter of problem, wallahi, I find it and advise everybody to do it. الصراحة في الحياة الزوجية, being honest, and always, inshallah, it will get the point which you highlighted today.
And on the other hand, I think just to add, Lana, as one person highlighted in the chat, that sometimes people get defensive, which I think is important. And sometimes if you are honest and frank, some people don't like to be. And that is also an important recipe in the marriage, is that if somebody, the marriage has to not only be based on honesty and frankness and transparency, but both parties have to base their life on, as Umar bin Khattab said, radiyallahu anhu, he said, Rahimallahu mri'in ahda ilayya uyubi, that may Allah have mercy on somebody who gifts me with my mistakes. So a husband and a wife have to be ready to accept and to acknowledge the advice of each other, accept the nasiha, and especially when the nasiha is given in the right way. I mean, we don't talk about nasiha, there's going to be a whole lesson in itself. But what we're saying is that it's important that each partner in the marriage is ready to accept advice and ready to change for the better. We talked about not changing but not changing when we're talking about appearance, or maybe in terms of things that a person can't change, but in terms of changing for the better, everybody should be aspiring to change for the better. So if my husband tells me, or my wife tells me that, look, actually, this is what I felt, maybe you didn't speak to me nicely, or you said this, or that wasn't appropriate, you should accept that. Don't get defensive. Be ready to apologize. There's nothing wrong. Don't hold that kind of attitude that, no, I'm never wrong, I'm never right. And inshallah, accept it and move on. That's the main thing. And I think that's another point which we don't have time maybe to speak a lot about it maybe in the future, but the ability to move on from issues. If you carry lots of burden, last month you said this to me, and 2 years ago you said this, and you will never be able to build anything solid, because if you're always building a brick and then the other person, or you are demolishing the wall, how are you going to build a house?
Except the most important things, except, as you said,
Jazakumullah khair for these and beneficial answers. Inshallah, now we will open the floor for any question from the audience. If you have any question, please raise the hand and the icon, or type it in the chat. We have first question. Where is Ustadha Lana and Dr. Umar from? Where from? and if they are the same country or different, and how did it affect in their marriage?
Me and Umar from the same country, Iraq, and from the same city, which is Al Mosul. But we are not relative. We are just came from a friend families, which again, I came from a different mindset or background because I live all my life in Libya and Saudi Arabia. And Umar from his childhood, he is a British. So he is here, yeah. So sometimes that's why his sense of humor is different than me, or some topics or episodes or things. But the most important thing that I accept, and I think he can agree for that. I accept the things and I try to learn, and he as well. We share things which I, come from. And always, if you are willing to change and learn, and you have this positive feeling and good manners, I think you can go ahead and go on with a successful life without any barriers.
So, Ustad and Dr. Omar, sometimes a young man here in the UK look forward to get a married wife like his mother, and he trying to look at the country in what base, like Libya or Iraq, to find one like his or her mother, his father. So, is it the culture, the man who living here, the young man who living here, choosing from other countries? Is it there's any conflict in the culture, or is it okay to moving on?
Omar, you can take it. Like.
I think that the thing about, like I said before, it's important to find someone who is as close to you in the outset, the mindset, and how looking at life. Obviously, the culture is defined in different ways and depending, but it's important to always consider how will I be able to, because cultures will share certain practices, and these practices, especially when it's going to be a complete change, for example, if you're used to, like you said, you're used to your mother waking up, for example, in the morning and preparing the suhoor for you, and then she calls you and wakes you up for this, and you find the suhoor, the table is suhoor there. If you go and then marry somebody who actually she expects you to wake up and make the suhoor, and I'm not saying which one is right or wrong, but if you're expecting something like that, and then you actually find that your wife is expecting something else because that's her tradition, that's her culture, that's gonna affect the marriage. And even we might, sometimes simple things, but it's like, for example, at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, some people might say, okay, I just give us a simple example. At the time of the Prophet ﷺ, it was considered unacceptable or not manly to allow the wife to go and milk the goat, for example. It was considered the duty of the husband to go and milk the goat or the cow or whatever. It wasn't considered a woman's responsibility to go and milk. I just give an example. So that it's not about what is Islamic or not Islamic. It's sometimes society will have attitudes, will have expectations. This is how you should behave. So when you marry someone from the same culture, at least you're not straying too far away from this expectation. I mean, even with our daughter, when she's saying I want certain things, or I think it's very important that when you come to get married, inshallah, these things are clarified at the beginning. And if you're saying I don't think that he should ask me to do this, or I don't expect him to do this, that's fine, but he should know this. And that's where culture comes into it, because they say this is our culture, this is our shared customs, if you like. However, what's important as well, just to quickly, is that yes, nobody should marry anyone thinking that they're going to be like their mother or their father. This is one of the biggest mistakes to have. Everybody has their own personality, everybody has their own practices. Yes, you might have certain expectations. Those expectations shouldn't be modeled on your mother or modeled on your father, because you'll find girls or women who will say, oh, look at my parents, they're such a loving couple, look at you, how you treat me. So everybody's going to be different. That goes back to the initial discussion that we had before about being clear from the outset.
And one on the recipe that don't compare. Yeah, Ziad and Fatima. This is one of the things. Don't compare. Don't expect he will be like your dad, because this one is going to upset you your whole life, because your husband will never be your dad. Even the relationship between me and my dad is different than me and Umar. Come on. Even the money which my dad did in his life is different, that I'm starting with a youth or young man, and he's my husband, and we have to build this house little by little. So putting a very high expectation, or because this my dad or this my mom will demolish all this uni. And you can be surprised here the opposite way, that some of like males or females, whatever they are, youth or are they old, they don't want like their mom, they don't want like their dad. Subhanallah. Yes, because he was always in clashes with his mom for some of her personality. Of course, we give all our respect to moms and dad, and they are like the crown of above our heads. But because he didn't find himself with his mom or dad, so he want completely a different. Like, for example, his mom was very strict in deen, and she want him to pray and practice, and he's not like that. He's not like that at all. So he don't want his wife to be like strongly religious practice or whatever. This one a very simple, example. Or his mom, she don't want to eat in restaurants. Let's say I don't want, today to always relate it to deen. You have to, think like she don't want restaurants or she don't like it. The opposite way, he loves the takeaway. He loves sitting in restaurants and cafe and, in parks. And so he wants a lady to share him this. So, so sometimes I find this, and even from my siblings, friends, that they take the opposite way of their moms or their dads. So this is the fact.
We have, I think, one question from the audience. Khalid has raised his hand. If you'd like to ask them a question.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
بارك الله فيكم جميعا وجزاكم الله كل خير، ونسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى يتقبل منكم.
آمين.
باختصار شديد، أي علاقة مثلا أو أي موضوع خاصة مثلا كما تقول بناء الأسرة المسلمة أو تربية الأولاد، فنعلم أن الأسباب تنقسم إلى قسمين: أسباب معنوية وأسباب مادية. السؤال: ما هي أهم الأسباب المعنوية التي يجب على رب الأسرة أن يحرص عليها في العلاقة الزوجية أو في تربية الأولاد في خلال الأسرة المسلمة؟ نريد التعريف أو نريد كما تقولي شيء مبسط عن الأسباب المعنوية التي يجب على المسلم أن يعتني بها داخل الأسرة المسلمة باختصار شديد، لأن هذا الموضوع للأسف كثير من الناس يغفل عن هذه النقطة ويركز فقط على الأسباب المادية التي هي في نظره إن هي كما تقول الشيء الوحيد الذي تؤهله إلى القيام بأسرة مسلمة أو أسرة متوازنة، خلينا نسميها أو ما أشبه ذلك. الدكتور عمر لو يفيدنا بهذه المسألة جزاك الله خير.
جزاكم الله خير. فقط أحب ننوه أن احنا عندنا دقيقتين، فإذا في إمكانية الإجابة السريعة، وإن شاء الله the other questions إن شاء الله we will answer it next Sunday إن شاء الله.
جزاك الله خير. And I think أيضا this question, I think we're addressing it in future topics, which is about the tarbiyah of the children. But بما أن الأخ سأل، فإن شاء الله I'll answer in Arabic if that's okay. جزاك الله خير أخي أستاذ خالد على هذا السؤال. طبعا تربية، هناك تربية تربية مجالات مختلفة ومتعددة الجوانب، لكن أنت بما أنك سألت عن المواضيع المعنوية، فبلا شك الأمور التي لابد أن يبني عليها ويربي رب الأسرة، سواء كان الرجل أو المرأة، الأب أو الأم، لابد أن يركزوا على باختصار الأخلاق الإسلامية أو حتى الأخلاق العامة، لأن الأخلاق هي شعار الإنسان، هي عنوانه، هي الراية التي هو يقدمها. فكل ما يدخل في الأخلاق، هذا موضوع طويل فيما يتعلق في الصبر، فيما يتعلق باحترام الآخر، فيما يتعلق بالسماح والمغفرة، فيما يتعلق باحترام الوقت، فيما يتعلق بالكرم، الجود، كل هذه الأشياء لو ردنا نتكلم عليها طبعا سيطول المجال. فما شك أن الإنسان لابد أن يعطي أولاده هذه المعاني. أنا ما زال أتذكر بعض المعاني التي اكتسبتها من والدي من مواقف يعني بسيطة، ممكن موقف هنا موقف هنا، ممكن تتكرس عند الإنسان، حتى أنه ربما يتذكر بعد قبل 30-40 سنة يتذكر أن هذا الموقف حصل وهكذا تعامل. ربما هي لا تكون عن طريق محاضرة أو كلمة أو درس، إنما تكون بموقف. كيف تعامل أبي مع هذا الموقف؟ كيف تعاملت أمي مع هذا الموقف؟ كيف كان ردها؟ كيف كان؟ هذه الأمور هي التي ستجعل من الإنسان أنه بل أنه كيف يعامل الأب الأم، يعني الزوجة أمام الأولاد، سيؤثر بلا شك معنويا على كيف هم سيتعاملون مع أزواجهم في المستقبل. كيف يتعامل إذا أغضبه الإنسان، كيف يتعامل إذا وجدته موقف. فهذه كلها معاني لعل إن شاء الله يكون لنا مجال نتطرق لها في الأسابيع القادمة
إن شاء الله.
بارك الله فيك، جزاك الله خير.
جزاك الله خير دكتور عمر حمدون and أستاذة لانا السميدعي on your valuable advice and this beneficial talk.
جزاكم الله خير. Thank you very much for hosting us.
شكرا جزيلا على الاستضافة، بارك الله فيكم، وتقبل الله صيامنا وصيامكم.
إن شاء الله next week episode will talk about the stage after getting married, and we also will discuss the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام methodology as a husband and as a father. Thank you so much and جزاكم الله خير.
في أمان الله.
في أمان الله.
جزاكم الله خير.